What's up, guys? It's the Osmo.com Night Shift Podcast. We got a huge MLB slate on Friday, August 24th to talk about 14 games. Going to go through each one pretty quickly, talk about pitchers and then some possible stacks. We'll have the strategy video with Josh and myself tomorrow morning, back to our usual time at 9 Eastern. Josh and I, again, will be on the live stream one last time this week, and then Chris will be back starting next week, so you'll get an extra dose of the Jake and Josh show. Osmo will be doing his top stack percentage article, since it is a Friday, and then we'll have the spotlight hitters, pitchers, and stacks, rankings, ownership projections for premium members, all that good stuff for the big slate. All right, 14 games. Let's do it. Yankees and Orioles. We've got CC Sabathia going up against Alex Cobb. Sabathia is 9K. Cobb is 5,200. No interest really in either of these pitchers. Sabathia is just too expensive. Going to get a bunch of righties. I mean, if there were a couple more lefties in this lineup, I'd maybe consider him, but still I think that too expensive for a guy like Sabathia, who they don't really need him to go that deep. I'm always worried with these Yankees pitchers, besides really Tanaka and Severino when he's pitching, that they're going to get pulled early. So kind of a mental thing with me there. And so for 9K, even in a good matchup, I think that I will pass on Sabathia. Cobb has looked good as of late as far as the results look. I think he's gone 4 out of 5 starts with at least 7 innings. Or 3 straight starts with 7 innings, 5 straight with 6+, which is kind of crazy. This guy's just steadily improved as the season has gone on, and I've stopped picking on him for the most part as far as just auto stacking against him. I really like Hicks here and Stanton to some extent, but I probably will have very limited Yankee stacks, if any at all. It's a big slate, and I'm going to be pretty picky, so I don't think the Yankees will make my final cut of stacks. There we go. Get that background noise out of there. All right, Phillies and Blue Jays. We have Jake Arrieta going up against Ryan Borucki. Arrieta is 8,800. Borucki is 5,900. Again, not much interest in either pitcher. I don't want to play Arrieta for a price I think is too expensive, and then I don't want to target against him because he's very good at limiting hard hits, just a 27% hard hit rate, which is really, really impressive for the season. Not a big fan of his, really the last few seasons, but as far as DFS, better real-life pitcher than DFS pitcher. And, I mean, I don't see anything special about the matchup either. 4.4 total for Toronto is modest, but I just don't see the strikeouts for Arrieta. Borucki finally was not able to survive, and it was against Kansas City when people were on him. He threw a bullpen session against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium and got lit up. 6 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. That was not a bullpen session, was it? I can't remember now, but I know he went under an inning, gave up 6 earned, and got a loss. So I'm assuming that had to be a bullpen session. Either way, I don't think Borucki is anything special. I do like Hoskins and Carlos Santana and Wilson Ramos if he's in there. I'm not sure if he will be in, but not too tough to get to a Philly stack. And I think it'll be pretty under-owned. Wind blowing out here, so if they open the dome in Toronto, pretty nice spot for the Phillies. Atlanta and Miami, we've got Mike Foltynewicz against Dan Straley. Folty is someone that I've found myself playing a lot more lately. Just looks really good, and the more I watch him, the more I want to play him. Just really good fastball, and should be able to get some strikeouts against this below-average team. You know, you've got a few decent hitters in this Miami lineup, but nothing that's really going to worry you for a guy like Folty, who has had a couple nice outings in a row. He's got 113 pitches in each of his last 2 outings. So he's the highest priced player on this slate and pretty deserving in my opinion. So I'm going back to him for 11-1. I hope he is not popular, and I don't think he will be too popular because we've got Rich Hill and Mike Clevenger, who are in also good spots, but they're a little bit cheaper. So I like the pay up to be contrarian with Fultonevich. Straley is 6,800. So I talked about him on the night shift yesterday. I thought he was supposed to go today. So same thing. Analysis has not changed. It's a big slate. I think we're going to get Atlanta pretty relatively low owned. So I think all these guys will be under 10%. Freeman, Markakis, Albies, Acuna. I mean, I've just noted so many times how Straley gives up so much hard contact to lefties, and it's really appealing for me to stack against him. Home run issues as well. So I just love Atlanta. I hope they go somewhat overlooked. Boston and Tampa Bay. Some uncertainty in this one. It looks like it's going to be Hector Velasquez against Jalen Beeks. And if that's the case, not much interest in this game all around. So Velasquez probably not going to go super deep. I don't think he's that great of a pitcher. Just a 7.7% swinging strike rate, 13.5% K rate overall this year. I mean, you can play a Jake Bauers dual position eligibility on DK for 3,600, but I don't really see myself going to stacks on either side. Beeks has impressed quite a bit as of late. Shut down the Yankees for the most part. I mean, I believe he gave up a couple runs in that relief appearance, but he went 5 innings, 8 strikeouts. Yeah, he let up 2 earned runs. And then in Fenway, went 4 innings, 3 strikeouts, no earned runs, just 1 hit. So this is the prospect they thought they were getting, and he's sort of coming into his own right now. Now he gets Boston in his home park in Tropicana. I don't know if he's going to actually start this game or if they're going to start Stanek or Wood or whoever's turn it is to open for Tampa Bay. But Beeks has been good enough the last couple starts, and I've been really impressed that I don't want a full stack Boston. It's probably just going to be JD and Mookie, who are both 5,700 on DK. White Sox and Tigers, Reynaldo Lopez against Michael Fulmer. Lopez is 5,800, Fulmer 7,700. So I don't want to play Lopez. It's tough for me to stack up Detroit on a slate that's this big with so many great options. I mean, I like Goodrum, I like Candelario and Castellanos to some extent. Those are kind of the 3 guys I play with any sort of volume on Detroit. But I don't know how much I'll get of them, even against a guy like Reynaldo, who's got some home run issues, giving up multiple home runs in quite a few games this year. Gave up 5 in a game, gave up 3 last start. So you can definitely target against him. I just don't know how much Detroit I will end up with just because of it being a huge slate and me wanting to play kind of the best teams. Fulmer is 7,700. I would have a lot of interest in Fulmer if he had gone deeper or he had another rehab start before. So he went 2 innings in his first rehab start, just went 18 pitches, and then he went 4 innings and 56 pitches in his second rehab start, and that was on the 18th, so it'll be 6 days since Fulmer has made this start. I mean, I'm thinking maybe he gets to 75 pitches. He would have to be really efficient, even against the White Sox, in order for him to be worth it at 7,700. So he's kind of off the table for me. And I actually like Polka as a one-off for 3,800 against Fulmer. Nationals and Mets. Some uncertainty about the Nationals starting pitcher, but from what I'm seeing, could be Gio Gonzalez, who is 6,400 on DK against Jason Vargas. So I like Gio if he is indeed the starter. Just too cheap. He's going to get a few lefties in here. Jay Bruce is expected to be back. Jeff McNeil, Conforto in there. A lot of strikeouts on this Mets side. So I'm not the biggest Gio fan, but when he's cheap, I've got interest on a slate like today where I'm looking for pitchers to pay down on to pair with Fulte and Rich Hill. So Gio will definitely be in my player pool if he is confirmed as the starter, of course. Vargas for 4,800. He will not be in my player pool very likely because he's actually he gives up a bunch of hard hits to righties. But then you look at so that's expected, whatever. Like Rendon and Zimmerman and Turner all have solid matchups against Vargas, but you look at what he does against lefties. So if you just sort this slate by splits against lefties, and then just go by xFIP, I like to do first. Vargas, a 572 xFIP against lefties, a 167 whip, 35% hard hit rate, very, very little soft contact. I mean, he just gets squared up really well against lefties. And we know Harper and Soto can hit lefties, and Eaton to some extent. I don't even know if Eaton will be in there, but either way, I'm once again on the Nats. It's 80 degrees here. I mean, I just think this is a really good stack. People will see the lefties, they'll see Vargas, and people will probably want to play some Vargas, but I'm on the completely other side. I really, really like the Nats stack. Oakland and Minnesota, Sean Manaea against Jake Odorizzi. Manaea is someone that I've found to be confusing as of late. Just never know when he's going to miss bats, when he's going to have a big performance against a team out of the blue or just completely bomb. For the season numbers don't look spectacular for him. He's had a few big starts mixed in there, but under 17% K rate for the season. And then I'm looking at players to target against him, like righty power, and the Twins don't really have a ton besides Sano, but it's kind of a wild card because of how much he strikes out. And I mean, Manaea is good enough to strike him out for sure, depending on which Sean Manaea we see. So 8,200 for Manaea. I'm off that. Twins bats, I'm pretty much off them as well. Odorizzi is 7,500, and gonna get an Oakland team that has not been striking out really at all over the last month against righties. Oakland has a 20.5% K rate, a 117 WRC plus, an over 200 ISO. Those are all amongst the best numbers in the league for their categories. Odorizzi struggles with quality contact. I mean, he gives it up as much as anyone, still has some home run issues. And Chris Davis, once again, for like the fifth day in a row, he's going to be one of my highest exposed players, as is Matt Olson. I'm going to mix in some Jed Lowry, and then Piscotty hits righties pretty well. So I like this Orioles stack in Minnesota here. Pittsburgh and Milwaukee, Joe Musgrove against Wade Miley. Miley is 6,900. Musgrove is 8,600. Tough spot for Musgrove. I really respect him as a pitcher. Like you can just see if you look at the results, he's just a solid pitcher. Doesn't get blown up all that often. Yeah, I mean he's not someone I want to actively target against. I mean, Yelich always comes up for me, especially when he's under 5K, so he's a little bit underpriced. And I mean, these Brewers are underpriced overall, but that's going to put people on them, I think, and Musgrove's just not the guy I want to target against on a 14-game slate. Wade Miley, 6,900, is I think I'm going to target against Miley. He's another lefty, like Vargas, who's struggled with lefties, oddly enough. On the season, he has a 593 xFIP and then near 60% hard hit rate for Wade Miley against lefties this year. That's kind of crazy. I mean, that's going to come down a little bit as the season goes on, but we're almost near the end. I know he came in kind of mid-season, but line drive rate way up, strikeout rate way down against lefties for Miley. So I'm looking to see if I can play Dickerson and Polanco. I mean, Polanco hits lefties decently hard. He's got a 174 ISO on the season. So I don't think he's the worst play, but this game is kind of shaping up to be an avoid for me just because I don't have a ton of plays either side. I don't really want to pick on either pitcher in their matchups. So let's move on to Cleveland and Kansas City. Mike Clevinger going up against Brad Keller. Clevinger is 10-6. He's going to garner a bunch of ownership because it's Kansas City. They got a 3.5 run total. It's wind blowing out, 82 degrees. Not the best place to pitch when it's hot in Kansas City. And as bad as the Royals are, they're going to be rolling out probably 5 or 6 lefties. And like Clevenger just mows down righties, over 28% K rate, but just over 20% K rate to righties on the season for Clevenger. So he's not my favorite play here. I think I prefer Fulte straight up, price included. I have Fulte projected for more points, and it's not even that close for me. So I'm going to be playing Fulte. I hope more people play Clevenger. I mean, I don't think Clevenger is a bad play at all. It's a somewhat safe matchup, but I think he could get touched up a little bit by like Duda or Alex Gordon. He's just not the same pitcher against lefties that he is against righties. Keller, not someone I'm looking to play, of course. I want these Cleveland bats. They're going to be popular for sure. Jose Ramirez under 6K. Francisco Lindor just 5K. We haven't seen those prices in a while. Yonder Alonso under 4K. This is a pretty good hitting environment, like I said, when it's hot here in Kansas City. So no issue stacking up Cleveland. Don't think I need to talk about them very much. I'm sure Josh is going to be on the same page tomorrow morning. St. Louis and Colorado. This is Coors Field. Miles Michaelis going up against Antonio Senzatella. Michaelis and Senzatella are not going to make my rosters. I'm just going to have stacks of both sides of this game. I think the Rockies may go somewhat under-owned just because Michaelis is a respected pitcher. I mean, I like Michaelis as much as the next guy as far as I don't really want to pick against him, pick on him. But like Blackman, Cargo, and David Dahl, I think are all firmly in play for me. I like that they're priced up really high because I think people are going to be off of them. And then Michaelis relies on a sinker, which isn't going to sink the way it should in Coors, a slider, which should be fine, and then a curveball as well. So I think it could be tough sledding for Michaelis. I really like this Rockies stack. So this is why I'm looking to pay down for pitcher, why I'm considering a guy like Gio. So I hope he is indeed the starter. Otherwise, I'm going to have a tough time finding some value at pitching because I want all these expensive hitters. And then Senzatella on the other side, just can't play him, does not miss bats. He does get ground balls. That's the one thing he does pretty well. And there are a bunch of righties in here, but I'm stacking up the Cardinals, I think. And I'm not going to really think twice about it. I expect them to be pretty chalky as all their guys but Carpenter are under 5K. So Seattle and Arizona, we've got Erasmo Ramirez going up against Zach Godley. Erasmo is 5K. Godley is 8,500. I'm not on Erasmo. Just a 7.5% swinging strike rate on the season. In total, 45.5% hard contact, a 518 xFIP. Just does not grade out as the type of pitcher that I would want to play, even for 5K. And then Diamondbacks bats, I like the 2 through 5. Once again, I feel like I talk about them all the time. Pollock, Peralta, Goldschmidt, Eduardo Escobar, the usual suspects for Arizona. The lineup kind of drops off with Marte, Ahmed, and Avila, but I will have a good amount of the 2 through 5. Arizona is actually one of my favorite. I think they're going to be under the radar stacks, them and like Atlanta. So I'm hoping people are off them and more on the Coors game. Godley is 8,500. I mean, this is my guy. Godley coming off a bad start against the Padres, so maybe some people will be soured on him, but it's not the highest upside matchup for Godley here with Seattle not striking out that much. Guys like D. Gordon, Denard Span, and Haniger, Cruz. These guys don't strike out that much, so it's really Zunino and Gamble, I guess, that strike out a little bit, but Godley is a good enough pitcher where when he's rolling, he can just create strikeouts against guys that usually don't strike out. So 8,500, I don't think he's the highest upside option on the slate. Like, he's not up there with Fulte or anything, or Clevenger if he gets rolling, or even Rich Hill. But I think he is somewhat safe for 8,500, and I will have a good amount of him. Houston and LA, the Angels, Keuchel against Andrew Heaney. Keuchel is 9,200. Heaney is 8,400. This one is pretty much a write-off for me. There's really one bat on each side that I want, and I guess you could make a case for a couple on the Houston side, but I don't like targeting against Keuchel. It's really just Trout if he's in the lineup for the Angels, and then against Heaney, I like righty power, but I prefer Heaney at home, and it's not that great of a hitting environment here in LA. Plus, I don't really want to play Springer. Bregman's 5K, so it's really just Correa for 4,200 that I'm interested in on the Houston side. But most people will see that price, they'll see that he's against a lefty, and they'll want to play him. So I don't think I'm saying anything that's not pretty obvious to most people. San Diego and LA, the Dodgers. Clayton Richard going up against Rich Hill. Richard is 5,400, dirt cheap, but I will not be playing him. I want the stack against him. Once again, the Dodgers are... I'm back on the Dodgers against the lefty. They're at home. I know they don't hit lefties for the season well at home, but I'm trusting the individual numbers. As a team, they should be awesome. When you've got Dozier, Turner, Machado, Kemp, Kike, Puig, et cetera, but so I'm going all out against Richard. I hope we have the Dodgers all under like 10%, probably wishful thinking. I think most people are on the Dodgers train right now. They're trying to cash those Dodgers tickets because we've had one big blow up at like 1%, and luckily enough I was able to take advantage of that, but they weren't popular that night, so people are probably pretty sour on the Dodgers, and they may just keep mashing them in. It's good pricing too. I mean, all these guys in the 4K to 4,800 range. So Dodgers are just pretty easily one of my top 4 or 5 stacks, and maybe even higher than that. Rich Hill, 9,800. I've kind of come on to Hill a little bit over the last few weeks. So I said he started to go a little deeper. He was getting up in the mid-90s, upper 90s in pitch count, went down to 85 in Coors Field, but through 6 innings. And then last start against the Mariners, 8 Ks, 6 innings. Okay, that's a good start. 4 earned runs, that's fine. But the thing that was most encouraging was the 111 pitches. Most he's thrown all year. He had another game with 110. They usually don't let him go that deep. So very encouraged there. I'm on Hill. I think he is the safest option of the night. Everyone knows how much the Padres strike out. They've got 3 or 4 guys, and even 5 guys that strike out 30+% of the time against lefties, if you include the pitcher. So just an awesome matchup for Rich Hill. I don't want to target against him. I think he cruises here. I've got nothing holding me back from playing Rich Hill. It's a fine price. I think Fulte probably has similar, maybe a little bit more upside, but you get a $1,300 discount with Rich Hill, so absolutely no issue with him. Rangers and Giants, last game of the night. We've got Drew Hutchison, against Derek Rodriguez. Hutchison is 6,600, coming off a very efficient start. Well, maybe not super efficient, but a good start. Through 5 innings, 6 Ks, allowed 2 earned runs, just 75 pitches for Hutchison. He's pretty stretched out. He went 85 to start before that. And, he's certainly usable here against the Giants in one of the pitcher-friendliest parks in the MLB. So, I have no issue going to Hutchison if he's not going to be popular. If he is, then it's a pretty easy pivot for me to go to Gio, assuming he's in, or even like Wade Miley or someone like that. But I certainly get the appeal with Hutchison. I'm going to mess that up so many times in the strategy video, calling him Hutchinson. So feel free to correct me if you're listening to this and you're going to watch that in the morning. And the live stream, I'm sure I'll get it wrong like 30, 35 times at least. So, Derek Rodriguez, 10-1. So he's had a few good starts in a row. And I just like to look at the game logs because I know that's how some people base off their kind of analysis. Maybe some casual players, they'll see 5 straight starts with at least 6 innings, 3 straight starts with exactly 7 innings. He's going pretty deep. He's getting a decent amount of strikeouts. The matchups haven't been brutal by any means. Pittsburgh, Houston when they weren't healthy, and then at San Diego. So they've been pretty favorable. He pitches in a really good park. But 10-1 I think is a pretty outlandish park for going up against a team that does have power. I mean, they may not light him up for home runs, but I really think that Rodriguez, these last few starts have kind of been a little bit fraudulent. So he's not worth the 10-1 for me, especially when you got Hill right there for 98. Or you can get 1,000 more and get up to Fulton Nevich. So that's my beef with Derek Rodriguez. I don't see him having the upside that those other guys have. And he gives up quite a few hard hits to both righties and especially lefties. And we know the Rangers have lefty power. So I like Chu a little bit. I like Mazzara and Odor as well. So I'll be targeting against Rodriguez, especially if he's going to have ownership. All right, that's going to do it for the night shift, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Come to the strategy video tomorrow morning with Josh and myself. We'll be in there discussing the 14-game slate. It'll probably go for about an hour 20, hour 30. We'll do crunches at the end. Alex Osimo will have his top stack article out. Check out the Spotlight Hitters, Pitchers, and Stacks, the daily game plan, all the good content we've got coming out. Enjoy this slate, and I will talk to you in the morning.